We are building a 1,500 horsepower, twin turbo big block, extended cab, full-size Chevy, four-wheel drive drag truck. And today is actually the first day that we're gonna see it as a complete truck. Now, the reason for that is because originally this project started out with the idea of just converting my two-wheel drive truck over to four-wheel drive. But as I gathered more and more parts, the more I realized I might as well just build two separate trucks. So we had the chassis finished up about a year ago. I picked up a cab at the beginning of January, and just last week I parted out another wrecked Silverado that had all of the body parts that we needed, which are now conveniently stacked up in the shop and taking up all of my space. So we are going to get started today, and we're going to assemble ourselves a truck. So we have the parts, we have the truck on the trailer, so all we've got to do is get it unloaded and get to work after lunch, because Jimmy John's just showed up. Actually meant Jersey Mike's. Keep the wheel straight. It should come off without a problem. Once we get it off the trailer, we'll just push it in, which that'll take a little bit. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
I know you guys are familiar with the donor parts because we just stripped out the donor truck, but it's been a minute since we've actually had the real truck in the shop. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what it is and where we're going with it. So extended cab, full-size Chevy, my favorite body style of all time, GMT 800. This is gonna have obviously the 2003 and up front end on it. We literally started this project from a bare chassis because originally it was supposed to be for my other truck. So what we've done is kind of alter and modify pretty much everything. So we started out with a four-wheel drive frame. We're converting it over to coilovers instead of torsion bars. These are a custom bracket that I built myself and designed. Got some different positions in there. Very rusty because I transported this thing on a covered or an uncovered trailer from Utah to Colorado in the middle of winter. So we get a little flash rust on there, but we'll take care of that at some point. We have some tubular control arms. We did a little bit of tweaks to those when we got them. We have the aluminum spindle from like a 2012 or 13 for a little bit of weight savings up front. So that's kind of in a nutshell the front suspension. Out back, we are still running a leaf spring style, but instead of the stock springs, this is a Calvert split monoleaf. You can see maybe underneath there, there's a front half of the spring and a rear half of the spring. We're running Funkhauser spring sliders. So instead of a shackle, it just has this little bearing that slides back and forth. We have a rear mounted fuel cell. This is from DB Rods. We have some custom mods to the frame where I replaced all three cross members with a straight piece of pipe. This one I moved ahead to make room for the fuel tank. I believe this is a Funkhauser and a roll bar. I can't remember what brand. And a got torque differential 14-bolt semi-floater. So we tried to build this thing to be as strong as possible because it's going to be a full weight, well, almost full weight truck. And the power plant, a lot of people throw LSs in these, but we're going a little bit different. We're actually running that engine right there. It's all covered up, but it's a 535 cubic inch big block Chevy. I have a goal of like 15 to 1700-ish horsepower, probably twin turbo, but that's the engine that's going to propel this truck. So I want to see it as a truck, so let's just get right in. And I think the first thing that I want to do is get the bed installed on the frame because that's the biggest piece that's taking up my shop space. Don't know that I'm going to run a bumper forever, but to get it off the floor, we're going to just put it on the frame for now. And I think it'll still work with these sliders because it has this one hole here in common. But other than that, the bumper bolt should work. The hitch will not, just because we have the fuel tank in there. watch the bumper on the back. Let's come ahead. Hands up. Oh, you're good.
About where.
Look at that, and the hole kind of lines up too. Just bolted the fender on, but forgot to press record, so you'll just have to imagine what it looks like. But it's simple, and it's blue. And I kind of wonder, do we like the blue better, or do we like the silver better? Because they're both pretty cool colors. Fender alignment over here. This one might get a little bit tricky. This cab was on a truck that was in an accident, and it hit in this corner. As you can see, it's a little bit kind of crunched through the cowling. I do have part of the cowling from the blue truck, which I may at some point section in, but for today, I just want to get the fender on, and I think we'll be okay because the door hinges, they're part of the fender bracket. I had to straighten them a little bit, but basically this just kind of pulled forward. So I just tapped those back into place. And this guy here, this was pushed in a little bit, but I think I straightened it out. And the fender doesn't really bolt to any of this stuff in here. So I don't want to dive into this project yet, but I do want to just at least get the fender on so we can get the hood on, so we can kind of get the shop, you know, cleaned up a little bit. And then at a future date, when I'm doing some interior stuff like the roll cage and sheet metal work, then I'll probably dive into repairing that. But for now, we should at least be able to get the fender bolted on. So let's cross our fingers and hope those little tweaks that happen in the crash on the silver cab won't affect fender alignment. Because, I mean, just look at it.
Oh, would you look at that?
You can see if we can at least sort of kind of straighten what's here. So we just test fit the passenger side fender, and it's pretty close, but there is a pretty big gap at the bottom of the door here, and I think I got to reshape this hinge. Remember, these both got bent in the accident that the cab was a part of, so I think I just got to like push this a little bit further back. But other than that, we're close, so I'll get the torch out. We'll try to manipulate that just a little bit, and I think we'll be in business. All right, this is after the second round of adjustments. I have the top now where I'm happy with it. I heated the upper hinge fender mount and I brought it back a little bit. Pretty happy with this gap, but down here you can see the fender's in a little bit, and also the gap is still a little wide. So I'm gonna come back to the bottom, I think one final time, try to pull it out a little bit to fix that, and then also tap the hinge back so it closes up that gap. Or not the hinge, but sort of the hinge, I guess, the fender mount. So one more time, I think we'll have it. All right, third time's the charm. Or fourth or fifth, I forget where we're at. All right, how'd we do? Woo. Man, I am good. Maybe too good. So now, I really like this gap down here. It opens up a tiny bit, but like for a rough end, that is pretty dang good. I'm really happy with that. Like for a wrecked truck and a guy who has like zero business doing body work. So I'm happy. Did they make these in the world?
They did some of them. I think it's the ones that have the protein.
I can't tell you guys how excited I am right now, because this is a moment I've been waiting for probably for a little bit over a year. This is the first look that we get at the new four-wheel drive drag truck. And I gotta say, it's kind of a little bit on the ugly side because we got a lot of different colors going on here, but I dig it. I mean, this is like when you paint the different swatches on the wall so you can kind of get an idea of what color you like. Arrival blue is definitely my top choice, but I kind of like the silver-ish. I don't know if that's silver birch metallic or what color that is technically, but one of these two I think will probably be the final color of the truck. But yeah, this is just a huge moment. The truck's pretty much together. Before the end of the day, I think I will throw the grill on just so we can see what it looks like with its face. But you guys might be wondering, like, why am I completely assembling this truck right now? Because realistically, before the build is over, it's gonna have to come completely apart again. But in order to get all this fabrication work that we have yet to do, I have to have a complete truck, and I can't start that stuff until it looks like this. So a good example would be the turbo kit. I want to have, this is going to be running the twin turbo big block Chevy, 535 cubic inches. And one of the things I am ultra picky about is not having the turbos like stick through the hood. I don't want to have, a lot of guys that have the turbo just jammed way up high, and I think that kind of looks a little goofy. I like the sleeper look. So that means turbos stuffed underneath the hood. We were able to accomplish that with the big block in UglyTruck, and I'm going to do the same exact thing with twin turbos on this one. So short version is, until I have the hood on and the fenders on and the cab on the frame, I have no idea, of knowing where that stuff has to go. So as soon as the engine's done, I got a few simple things left to do, like the windage tray, a couple of ports in the oil pan. As soon as that stuff's done, it'll go in here, and then we can start mocking up the turbo kit. I want a symmetrical look with one turbo on each side. I haven't decided on an intercooler setup yet, if I want to go with an air-to-air up front, or possibly, like I've seen a lot of Nelson Racing stuff, they'll do air-to-water intercoolers, and you could probably put one there and one there just in front of the wheel. So we've got some deciding to do, but at the end of the day, I don't want to have any holes in the fenders or the hood missing or any of that stuff. So we got to have it all in one piece to build it. As far as exhaust goes, ideally I want to have probably 2 4-inch exhausts running underneath the truck on each side, but if we don't have room for that, maybe I'll do like a behind the wheel dump sort of a situation. I've seen a couple pictures where they'll run the exhaust just here. I thought about side pipes, but I think that'll look kind of stupid on a truck of this era, but maybe have them just poking out there. Anyway, that's all future stuff for now. We are going to continue along with assembling our little Lego truck, and it's time to move on to the inside. We are going to install the dash and take out the heater box. Now, I realize it would be cool to have heat and cool to have AC, but that takes up a lot of space, and realistically, we don't need heat and AC. The truck isn't going to get driven all that much. So, in the name of weight savings, yes, I know I'm on both sides of the fence on weight savings, because I also insist on keeping, things like door panels and power windows, because I think it looks cool and I want the full dash, but I'm going to save some weight, and I do need the space here for our electrical center, because with the twin turbo kit, I don't think there will be room under the hood where the factory stuff went. So here we will have the Holley Dominator, the factory computer that'll basically run the gauges, the fuse block for the whole truck. Ideally, we'll all sit right here, and it'll be covered up by a factory dash and factory gauges. So from all outside appearances, this truck will sort of kind of look stock, which that gets me excited. So let's work on the inside. Mustang?
Also, before we're through, I'll probably be doing a bunch of metal work on the firewall just to kind of patch like these holes. Big hole here that needs to be sealed up now that the HVAC box isn't in there, but for now, we'll get the dash kind of in. I've already got that gutted where the HVAC stuff off of it. And that'll kind of help me map out the roll cage, because ideally I want the cage to go kind of behind the dash. I hate it when they go in front. So just gonna get it all mapped out. A couple pedals need to go in too, so we can get that figured as well. We'll need to swap this pedal out at some point for a Hydro Boost one, because the pin is a little bit higher. Vroom, vroom.
All right, if you're going to tackle one of these dashes on your own, they're fairly straightforward. A couple of big bolts here and here, a couple big ones here, a lot of small ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, a couple big ones on the side, and that's sort of kind of more or less it. So we're cranking right along, and we have the interior pretty much squared away. The only thing I want to do from here is just get the front end together. But lots of good news on the inside, because the reason why I put the dash in, it's number one, so I can actually steer the truck when we push it around. We get the column in. But mainly because I need to map out things like the roll cage, and I want to make sure I have enough space. I really don't like it when a roll cage goes in front of the dash and kind of contours around it. I want to do a through the dash style roll cage. So with the dashboard in and all the HVAC ducting out, I can kind of take a look down through here. And the only thing I'll have to do, it looks like, is there's part of this aluminum dash structure I'll have to just notch a little bit. And I think we'll have plenty of space to do that. Also on the other side, I have you saw me take the HVAC box out, and we have like so much room for all the electrics. We're going to have the fuse panel, the Holley Dominator, the stock computer, and probably a few other I don't know, relay switches or whatever else we have to put. There is so much space back here, like my whole arm practically can fit from the elbow up between here and the firewall. So lots of space there. Tons of room here for the roll cage on this side. I want to have like the factory A-pillar trim in and the factory dash cover on with the roll cage. We'll just do a little bit of notching around there. But I want this to be like, you know those RS Porsches that have the factory roll cages and stuff? That's kind of the vibe that I want to go for, is as if this were like a factory built drag truck. That's how I want it to look anyway. Yes, we'll have drags or lighter weight seats and stuff. And a few more things have to go in, but there'll be no back seat. As far as other major components, the electrical system, I'm kind of getting sidetracked here, but the battery is probably going to go under the frame, or under the bed on the frame, maybe where the fuel tank used to be, somewhere back there. So we gotta, or at least now that we have the shell of the truck assembled, we can start mapping stuff out. Same thing under the hood. We have the steering shaft in, and the only thing I have left, I've got to buy a Hydro Boost and a master cylinder, but once we have that, I'll know exactly what I need to work around when we're designing the turbo kit. So, yeah, it's coming right along. I love the look of the truck, but to finish the look, let's just get the front end on so we can get like that final finished picture. We've got a little bit more progress made than I initially thought we were going to make, so I'm going to knock out a couple of fab projects out back here. Number one, the fuel filler, not a filler neck, but this kind of little, I'm just going to put a sleeve in here to dress that up a little bit and strengthen the bed floor, just to kind of sort of finish it off. And number two, underneath on the rear anti-roll bar, I just need to TIG weld the end links together because I left those a little bit long, because I didn't know what the final ride height of the truck would be until we had all of the weight on the suspension. So now it's close enough where I can get a final length on the end links and weld them together, and then the rear suspension, other than shocks, will be done. The front suspension has been done for over a year. Anyway, so let's get the welder out and get this puppy finished. Now I do have 2 1/4-inch pieces of steel just sitting on top of the tank. You can maybe see it just so this isn't sitting directly on the aluminum. Gives it a little bit of room to flex and move around. But that's about where it's gonna sit. So we just need to make some marks so we can trim it to the right shape. Something like that. All right, so we have the fuel tank mod done for the bed floor, and now I'm just gonna take out the rear anti-roll bar. That'll be the last thing we do today. Then we'll get this truck outside in the sun just so we can kind of take a look at it.
That's nice and shiny.
So anyway, we'll get a rear Funkhauser anti-roll bar. That's gonna help when we launch.
So much torque.
Prevent the chassis from twisting and stuff.
The chassis twisted coming off the line.
And as you can see, I just left these kind of wild because without the weight of the truck on here, I didn't know how long they had to be. Right now, the suspension is fully drooped out. The axle cannot get any further lower than this. And basically all I want to prevent is like that from becoming straight, because when the suspension recompresses, the sway bar could like go back the wrong way, which we don't want. So I am just going to kind of sort of eyeball this to approximately that angle there. And I'll trim a little bit of this off, let the truck down, kind of cycle it through to make sure on the other side it doesn't get too high. But I think about an inch off, inch and a half is about where we need to be. And then once I have that one locked in, I'll just duplicate it over here. We'll get some paint on here so this stuff doesn't rust. You can see I've kind of been trying to do that wherever I can. And we'll get it on the ground and get it outside. All right, so that's the angle at full droop. And that is the angle at ride height. Now, we do have a fair amount of room to go up before anything binds. So I think we are good. Maybe a tiny bit shorter, but next thing you guys will see, we'll be welding it together. And then just duplicate over here. That kind of hop up and down a bunch. Yep, that's good. Okay. So it's been a pretty awesome week because the guys have been busy in the shop, which is great. And the other two cool things that happened is, one, I have my shop space back because all those vehicle parts that used to be stacked up are now on the truck. And two, the truck is a shell, it's complete. It looks like it's almost final form. Now, I say almost because obviously the color thing. Now, I am half tempted to leave it the blue, silver, black, and gray because I think it would be so cool to have, you know, a high 8-second sleeper truck that looks like it just rolled out of a junkyard. I think that would be totally cool, especially if, like in street mode, it stays on like these old Escalade wheels. But realistically, I probably will paint it. So it's like, choose your color, right? Do we do blue? Do we do silver? Black? I think Arrival Blue is my favorite. That's probably what it will end up as. But yeah, just I can't shake that idea of like, so cool to have the junkyard truck. Maybe that's what we call this, is the junker. The junker drag truck, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, major milestone accomplished, but this is actually now where the work just begins because all we have is a shell. I have an engine. I don't have a transmission yet. I have a donor 4L80 that needs to be gone through, but this is where the actual hard part begins because now that we have sort of the lines that we can color within, I now have to get the engine in, get the turbo system built. You know, that means headers, downpipes, The intercoolers have to be mounted. And then that's just engine related. Then we have to do, you know, the fuel system with the tank. I mean, I have the tank, I guess, but the lines, the filter, the regulator, get all that stuff installed. The wiring, we have a ton of work to do there. We have to get the computer mounted because we're running a Holley Dominator on this one. I've got to get a transfer case. I still don't have that. Probably want to do an NP261. I have the floor shift stuff already. So yeah, this is kind of like a major milestone, but also it's a realization that got to get the checkbook out because we're not going anywhere until we get this thing complete. So let's talk timeline. This has been a project that's been going on for a while, and I still have my own other projects. We have the UglyTruck that needs a little bit of attention, and we have the S10 that's going to get an LS swap. Those are going to happen kind of all at the same time. So my goal is to get this thing fired up for the first time before the end of the calendar year, and that leaves us like what? It's April the 5th as I record this, so by December 31st, the end of the year, I want it to be fired up. Not necessarily done, but just fired up. I want to hear that engine run because this has actually been in the works longer than almost every other project that I have. I bought that block in the fall of 2020, and so it's nearly 4 years ago. We have a truck to put it in now, so it's like all the pieces are kind of falling together, and I'm excited. So what you'll see in the immediate future, I think we're going to have Dom's Silverado step side come in for its turbo install, S10 LS swap. That's going to be kind of near-term future. Got to get the 535 buttoned up so it can actually go in the chassis for its mock-up phase. Like I said, UglyTruck, we need to spend a little bit of time with that. So we've got our plates full, especially, and that's just projects because we have all the shop stuff at the same time, but I'm happy, guys. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you. So come back soon and see what else we get up to.